Neck-throughs, guitars, they're like a guy that won't have a beer with you.
I want to hear what's pushing the notes.
Freddie King and B.B. King, Albert King, and let's not forget Burger King.
I don't want to blow my knuckle out.
Stainless steel is the work of the devil.
These go to 11.
From the East Amplification Tone Labs in Baltimore, Maryland, it's the Amps and Axes Show. With your hosts, Jeff the Godfather of Low Wattage Amps Bober and Mick Marcelino.
Well, good day to you, Mr. Bober.
Good day to you, Mr. Marcelino. Wow, it's
not as hot. Man, I should try not to knock the microphone over.
That's right. You'll just have to lay down on the floor and talk into
exactly.
it. Yeah, it's hot, but not quite as swampy.
Yeah. Thank God.
Yeah. Wow.
You know.
Well, we could always finish this and just dive in the pool.
There you go. Yes.
We're going to do this poolside soon.
Yeah. It'll be shocking.
It will be shocking.
Hey. Our buddy Matt over there in Australia, huh?
Yeah. Oh, that was fun.
How about that?
That was fun.
Yeah. Everybody responding pretty good?
Good.
And we got to thank you guys for that.
Yes.
And, make sure you go out to the ampsandaxescast.com.
That's right.
And you can get all the social media, all that stuff, and you can check out our buddy from up north.
Mr. Jason Sadidas.
That's right. He gives us the...
Quick click.
That's right.
That's right. That's right.
Without a smile.
Without a smile, yes.
We got to start a new year.
He's just so serious.
Gives us a smile.
He's serious.
He's a hell of a player.
He is.
So,
he is.
Yeah,
So we, I guess we're thanking the Down Under from up over.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're thanking them tomorrow instead of today.
Right. It is.
I don't even. When I start thinking about that, I go cross-eyed. I'm like, God, this is like watching like Back to the Future, trying to figure out timelines.
Right.
Yeah.
If they could only tell us what was going to go on tomorrow today, because it's tomorrow for
that
them,
would be awesome, wouldn't it?
Oh my God!
Like, hey, you guys, get prepared. It's going to be bad.
I'd rather hear, put your money here for like one day.
Yeah. Also, on that little bar with all the little social media icons, there's one for iTunes. When you go out there, it's the old 5 stars.
Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Whether you hate us or love us.
If you're going to hate with a passion.
That's right.
That's it. Do it with 5 stars.
Yeah, 5 stars makes it rise a little bit.
That's it.
And then maybe we can get our stuff together so you won't hate us.
Right. It just makes us work harder. The more 5 stars we get, the harder we work to keep that.
Yeah, especially when I read them. And I go, well, this guy hates our guts. Well, there you go. Okay.
It's okay. If you could do anything, do it with a passion,
Yeah.
But I hate. So.
Yeah.
So, but, please do what you can for us. And we will do likewise.
One thing.
Yes.
Before we get started, because we got a couple things to talk about real quick.
We do.
I don't want anybody coming across or thinking that we don't care about all the crap that's been happening around the world. But this is not that show. We're trying to take you to another place, and look, hey, we're right there with everybody. Where it goes down, where we got a lot of crap going on, people. So the only thing we're trying to do is give you that hour and a half where you can just get the hell away from that. So that's why we don't get in those conversations.
We fall into the category of diversion.
Yes.
Because you want to hear about what's going on in the world, and you want to hear opinions about that. There are 999,999 other places to find that.
And there's at least 20,000 podcasts that you can get on.
Absolutely.
And look, you got to let off the gas pedal sometime.
For sure.
So we're bringing you this. We talk of musicians and gear and all that good
We're
shit.
bringing you this so you don't lose it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So just to keep that in the back of your minds, if anybody goes, well, these guys, no, has nothing to do with that.
They're always jovial. It's like, and that's for a reason. Because we're trying to bring you happiness for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So and us too.
Yeah.
I don't
want to talk about that crap. You kidding me?
Yeah.
That's crazy. You go nuts anyhow thinking about it.
Right.
So we got a couple things to talk about.
Okay.
Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first? I can go first.
You go first.
Okay.
You go first.
So it's Mr. J.J. French's birthday from the Twisted Sister fame.
Ah.
He is the leader, the guy who invented that band. He's the owner or whatever, proprietor.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's pretty much done.
The holder of the name?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much done. And, he's a big-time producer, man. He's produced some serious bands.
Yeah.
So, I'd love to have him on. That documentary.
He would be a good guest. He would be a really good guest.
Because he is very animate about today's music and how it's done and how these bands present themselves. And he has a lot of good points.
Yeah.
Because he is not a fan of the fakery going on and taking it live and literally just, like there's like lip syncers in heavy metal, or more modern rock type bands. And it drives him insane.
Yeah.
Because he's like, we busted, his actual quote is, we busted our ass to where nobody wanted to even come into the Three Boroughs. They feared that band.
Right.
And if you were a national act, there was a lot of times you were opening for them. Is that insane? And they weren't even signed.
At that time, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Zebra was like, they go, the only thing we could do is become friends with them so we could actually get on the bill. Mm-hmm. Because if we tried to come in town and headline, we wouldn't have anybody show up, and
wow,
or they would all leave after Twisted would get off stage. Mm-hmm. It was pretty crazy, man. They were a hard-working band.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Very, very focused on what they did.
Yeah, they were all about kicking your ass,
right?
As a band. I mean, they really were,
and they weren't going to take it.
No,
they were not going to take it.
Goofy costumes and all.
Absolutely.
Hey,
anything goes.
Yeah, there's a couple guys out there that made a couple $1 billion from goofy costumes.
For sure.
So, hey.
Started before that, continued after that, but they were some of the kings and queens of it, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there's you good?
Yeah,
there's another birthday.
Yeah.
Mr. Carlos Santana.
How about that?
Yeah, happy birthday, man. That guy was such a big influence on me and a bazillion other people.
That guy could hold a note for a month.
Yes, well, and, he put a Mr. R. Smith on the map.
Yeah.
That is for damn sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And pretty much gave him the name for that first amp.
Let me ask you this. I've heard rumors.
Okay.
Now, of course, we may never know.
Okay.
But I heard he has vested interest in that company, and he has vested interest in PRS. We're not saying the one. Everybody knows.
I don't know that either one of those is true.
He sure does show up for a lot of almost, you know what I mean? I don't know. Hey, look, I've heard this. Nothing that I've invented. Mm-hmm. I've heard this from other people.
Well, I think that's other people's perception.
I mean, if you just looked at it from the outside, you could go, yeah, I could see where you'd see that.
Well, you could. It could happen in two different ways. Let me put it this way.
Okay.
You could have a vested interest in something and be there all the time for it, or that something pays very well.
Yeah. Then that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking maybe he was one of the base investors of those two companies, and maybe or maybe not. Who knows?
I don't think
it doesn't really matter.
I don't think so.
It's Carlos Santana.
It is. It is Carlos Santana. And what I stumbled upon, interestingly enough, the other day is I was watching the Woodstock performance of Soul Sacrifice.
Okay.
And why I never questioned this before, and I guess I just made an assumption because before the Boogies, Carlos always used to play twin reverbs. Mm-hmm. And like 2 or 3 of them, and cranked.
Oh God!
With like his SG with P90s.
Yes, which he's using in that show, right?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And he looks at the volume 900 times.
It's almost like a nervous tick. Every time he finishes a lick or a run, he hits the volume control and hits the volume control, and it's almost like a nervous tick. But he's always tweaking that volume control, and he's playing that. I believe that's a 61 SG.
Okay.
With P90s. And I always assumed twins. And I'm watching this, I'm going, I don't see a twin anywhere. I don't see a twin anywhere at all.
I have to look at that again.
Yeah, and the stage, like the bass rig is acoustic 360s, and there's one on his side of the stage too. They probably just had them spread out.
Yeah.
But next to the acoustic 360 is this amplifier cabinet and head that's as tall as the 360. And it's black, because the acoustics were kind of blue,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's black. It's a black cabinet and a black, not very tall, sloped front head. And so I started to do a little research on this, and some people probably know this. Maybe a lot of people don't know this, but that was one of the first Bob Galian amps.
That's ironic because
From
I just
Kruger.
had a conversation about him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
with a good friend of ours, and that'll be a later conversation.
Okay.
But that name came up.
Yeah,
well, that guy's a pioneer.
Absolutely. I had no idea that Bob Galian was building solid state amps as early as like 68 or 69.
And wonder if it was because acoustic was solid state too, right?
Oh yeah.
So they were having massive electrical problems on that stage. People were getting shocked all over the place because of all the rain.
Yeah.
And there was no grounds.
Doesn't surprise me at all.
And you couldn't even grab the railing to go up on the stage. They said, stay away from the scaffolding because it's electrified. And there's a movie about that. I forget what the movie is. It's about Woodstock.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of portray it in this, you follow a couple people. But they're in with the people that are doing it, and they're like, people are getting, don't touch anything.
Right.
Whatever you do, don't touch any metal anywhere near the stage.
It's not the Woodstock movies, the original movies.
No,
it's the one they recently did about the...
a trip to it, right?
It was about the producer of the concert.
Yes.
That's the movie.
That's it.
I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah. And I'm sure our listeners will.
Yeah, that's the movie.
Yeah. But in there, they talk about the electrifying.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody getting, don't touch anything on stage because it will shock you. So I'm wondering if maybe the irregularities of the electricity was maybe doing some stuff to the tubes or something. And maybe they brought those out. Who knows?
I don't
No,
think
because
so.
Hendrix had his stuff. Yeah.
Right,
He had his
right.
stuff up there.
Yeah,
it must have been something he was using at that time.
It was just there. It was
there.
like backline provided, I think, because he always used twins up to that point.
That
And
is
a lot of
crazy.
those guys, it was hard enough to get people in and out, let alone backline.
Yeah, they were flying them in with helicopters.
Yeah. So this it turns out that it was a GMT 226A. It was like a 200 plus watt solid state Bob Galian amp that he played.
That is crazy.
And so, somebody says that he was using one of the first prototype big muffs on that stage.
Really?
But I don't know, man, because at the end of the Soul Sacrifice clip, you can see him walk up to the amp, unplug his cable from it, and walk off.
It was a curly cable.
Yeah,
I remember this. Yeah.
So I don't know that there was any pedal involved. That was probably just Carlos, guitar, fingers, guitar, overdrive, a solid state
Some
amp.
Bob behind him, and little Bob in that amp, and then go to town.
There you go. So I thought that was kind of cool to find out. I don't know why I never looked before. But
that's wild.
Yeah.
Well, and that company, Flea, publicly came out and said, I blow up every bass amp I've ever played. He goes, those, Galian Kruger, are the only amps that I can't cook, and they constantly work with him to refine the thing. So that's his back line.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I know the early RB800s they were huge workhorses for everybody for a long time. They came out with the series after that had switching power supplies in them. And when they blew up big. Mm-hmm. They may have refined them some more. It's been a while since I worked on solid state equipment, so they might have refined them some more. But the 800s were, they were workhorse. They pretty much replaced SVTs, all over the place.
That's crazy.
So
yeah. Well, hey, it's
go Bob.
Yeah, man.
Go Bob.
So, got another little article.
Okay.
Looks like our boys at Marshall are getting into the record business. Like the record business.
Vinyl?
Yeah.
Or
like producing bands.
Okay.
Yeah.
Label.
Yeah. Hold on a second here. My Gmail. Oh, for Christ's sake. You know,
they're signing people to labels, or they're pressing vinyl.
You know, I'm gonna have to. Okay. Well, because the internet sucks, and the way the Gmail is, and everybody puts 55 links inside. Okay, yeah. Now it wants me to get a Vivino. Let's do an ad for Vivino right now, because the Vivino wine scanner is the fucking ad that comes up. And I apologize. I'll bleep that out. When I'm trying to read an article from Gmail, because God knows that's what we want, right? And when I hit back to Gmail, we're going to go back over to it. So I can't talk about it. But anyway, they're starting a record label.
Wow.
Yeah. And they're trying to, from what I gathered, they're trying to, throw that thing over there. They're trying to, it's pissing me off now. They're trying to, kind of bring some of the old school thing back and sign some of these bands that may not be able to really get themselves out there. Mm-hmm. That's from what I gathered. I would love to read it to you, but I can't. So 25 ads just popped up on my phone. I think it's smoking right now.
Wow, that's your brand new i6, isn't it?
Yeah, well, why not?
Yeah.
Why?
Wow.
It's
a bigger screen for more ads.
Yeah, there you go. Technology, people. Sometimes I just want to wring the hell out of somebody's neck.
Wow.
But anyway, so they're supposedly getting into that business to kind of like help some of these smaller bands kind of get along, because there's a lot of good acts out there that really play. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of acts that are really trying to capture that 70-ish sound.
Right.
Monster Truck, who I rave about. Mm-hmm. I bought their latest album, and there's some songs on there that you go, that sounds just like Bad Company, but with their own spin. Mm-hmm. And it's really refreshing to hear that. They're not using, you can tell they're singing, they're playing. It's that whole thing. And that kind of thing is starting to really, it seems like it's getting some resurgence. Your J.D. Simos and guys like that. So I guess, Marshall, they're looking at something, they're going, well, why can't there be record companies?
I hope they figure out how to turn it into a money-making operation again, because record companies up to the point haven't been able to figure it out. They didn't see what was coming early on. Yeah. And they have not been able to recover from that. Yeah, well, being a new thing, maybe they have an idea. I'd read the article. I can't. Yeah, right. No, it's really funny because the record label came up today. I was I put up a Winery Dogs cut. Yeah. And a good friend of mine, Bobby Hurd from Crack the Sky, and way back from Climate Donkey and everything.
Incredible player.
Oh yeah, and he said, I think they're on our friend Tom Lipsky's label, Loud and Proud. So I'm going to have to look into that. Tom Lipsky goes way back to the early Climate Donkey days. When Bobby was in that band, and that band was as good or better. We've had this discussion before. As good or better than Little Feat. And I know that might be sacrilege to some people, but they really, really were. So we're going to have to look into Tom Lipsky's Loud and Proud label and see who's on there, because if there's somebody cool, we can get them on the show for sure. Yeah. So we're going to take a look into that. Yeah. It's Loud and Proud, and I bet they are. But they got Winery Dogs. Yeah. Bobby said you'd be surprised who he's got on his label. So
yeah, it's a crazy world.
Yeah. So good, good luck, Marshall, and I hope you figure out a way to make money on it, because that hopefully will mean that other people will be able to find a way to make money from music again, because it's just freaking terrible.
It'd be kind of nice that maybe guys don't have to take their amp on a plane, and they can actually have a back line that they play through, that they use.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
we'll see what happens. We'll see where it goes.
If that money trickles over to the band, they can actually afford those expenses like back in the day.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Actually have a stage show. Stuff like that.
When you used to make money at music.
Speaking about back in the day.
Back in the day. Oh.
We're bringing back the 80s, by the way.
Awesome.
Today is the day.
All right. Single-handedly, we're going to bring back
the 80s. Single-handedly. Our guest is.
But with our guest. We're going to bring back the 80s. Yeah, he made his mark a while back Had some really cool stuff going on, high energy stuff.
Yeah, even today.
Yeah, even today, and
Yeah.
he still occasionally graces audiences with his band, his presence and his band.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to, along with our guest, attempt to bring back the '80s today with a man whose band was called the Young Rumblers. So we'll be back in a minute with Mr. Tommy Conwell.
Hi there, this is Matt Wakeling from the Guitar Speak podcast, and you're listening to Amps and Axes.
All right, and we are back as promised with our guest of the week, the one and only Mr. Tommy Conwell. Tommy, how are you, my friend?
Good. How you guys doing?
We're doing great,
We're
man.
doing good, man.
Yeah, it's the humidity has let up a little bit. I don't know about where you are, but it's hot, but not quite as humid. But I love summer, so I'll take it all.
Yeah, it is summertime after all.
That is true.
And we're trying to bring back the '80s, man.
They're coming back.
Coming back strong. Well, we're gonna lead up to the '80s and then past and then back again. Maybe, who knows?
Yeah, you never know.
But we're gonna do what I like to do with most of our guests, and we're gonna jump in the Wayback Machine and figure out where Mr. Tommy Conwell came from and how you got into the music biz. So give us a little history, man. Where were you born and raised, and how did you get into this awesome business of music, man? Give us a little history.
Yeah. Well, I'm from Philly, and I was born in the East Falls section, and grew up in Ballackinwood, which is the suburbs, and right across the city line. And I'm 54 years old. I was born in 1962. I got two older brothers, which were actually my oldest brother was kind of the source of music in the house. I mean, when I was, my parents listened to classical music when I was about, 6 or something. My dad brought home a Beatles record. It was Yesterday and Today, which was actually like a compilation of songs from Revolver and Rubber Soul, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
I think, and it's a great album, like a great compilation. And anyway, so that's but that was the only rock and roll we had in my house until my brother started bringing stuff home. So
what did he start bringing in?
Well, you know what, God bless him. I mean, he brought in some pretty good stuff. I mean, so there was a lot of Beatles. The White Album was like the heaviest rotation, or at least when I was around. I love the White Album. That was a big one for us. But a lot of Beatles and Stones. A big Stones album for us was the live one, Get Your Yayas.
Get Your Yayas.
It was huge, and Zeppelin, Physical Graffiti and House of the Holy, and what else? But then he brought home, he'd bring home like weird stuff, and David Bowie, Ziggy Stardust, and Hunky Dory, which is a great album. Oh my God.
Not so many people mention that album, but that's a good album, man.
Yeah,
that's the best one. That's my favorite one. I mean, Ziggy Stardust is obviously, important, but check out Hunky Dory, man. Wall to wall greatness.
Nice.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. So just music like that, and then what happened is, and I'm musical. I could always play any, I could always pick out songs on the piano, and I always played every cheap instrument there was. I had harmonicas, and my grandma gave me a ukulele, lent me, didn't give me, but lent me her ukulele, which she never got back.
Did she play it? Did she play?
Yeah.
Wow.
She had it when it's so funny that ukuleles are back. That is hysterical.
Oh, it is.
All the kids are playing ukuleles now because my grandma, they played them when they were teenagers,
And it's nothing like a $1,500 ukulele.
No, it's odd. Oh, is that what they do now?
Yeah, I mean,
there's
you
high
got
dollar ones
you got
now.
high-end builders
Why
building
not,
these things
right?
from us $2,000.
Right.
It's like
and let me say, it's a ukulele.
yeah.
If you're gonna pay $1,500, you have to call it ukulele.
Okay, yeah. Well, if they can get it, go for it, dudes. You know what I mean? But anyway, it's a great instrument. Paul McCartney played it on Ram. I think that was his first solo album. I think was Ram. And there's a song called Ram On, and he played. It's a great instrument, man. But anyway, my grandma lent me a ukulele and taught me two songs: "Who's Sorry Now," which Connie Francis did, and a song called underneath the bamboo tree, which is tremendous, man. And I still, love them. And so anyway, I started playing guitar. Long story short, started playing guitar, and my first guitar lesson, man, with this guy named David Rowan in right outside of Philly, in my neighborhood. And I remember I went and he said, "Who do you want to play like?" And I, without giving it much thought, I said, "Oh, I don't know, Frank Zappa."
Wow.
Well, at least you weren't shooting too big.
Yeah, I don't know, Frank Zappa, maybe, And
what the hell was his response?
Which goes to show what a weirdo I am. You know what I mean? And so he says, "Okay, well," but he was into jazz, and so I swear to God, I kid you not, my first guitar lesson, he showed me how to play every chord there was in 4 positions. I kid you not, he did.
Wow.
Like he gave me okay, here's a C7, all 4 note chords. So with no repeating tones. So each chorus has 4. You play the 6th string, the 4th, the 3rd, and the 2nd, right? And you play a C7, C, E, G, B flat, 4, and you just move it up the neck, and you have 4 positions, 4 different, inversions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then he said, "Okay," and then he started writing, and he wrote out, "Okay, here's a C7, right? Want to play a minor 7th? Lower the 3rd. Half step. Want to play a major 7th? Raise the 7th a half step. Want to play a 9th? Raise the root a full step." You know what I mean? And to every one there is, every chord you can imagine. That was my first guitar lesson.
Your first lesson?
Yes, and he was a nut too. Don't you love nuts?
Absolutely.
Doesn't the world need more nuts?
And I wonder, I wonder if he did this to every student, or whether you said, "I want to play like Frank Zappa." He went, "All right, wise ass, here we go."
No, he was just a goofball. He probably didn't have any other students.
But jazz and Zappa aren't too far apart. They're really not.
Eclectic timings and just bizarre.
Yeah. And at that time,
I wish I had that guy
was
for a
in
teacher.
10th grade, which was I don't know, what is
15?
that like? Like 76, 77, probably this was probably, no, 77 or 78. This is probably 77 or 78. And what was really big was George Benson, Breezin' was huge.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about jazz-wise. And which I didn't know anything about jazz, but I'm just saying this is what was. And Pat Martino, he turned me on to Pat Martino.
Wow.
I think it was that first lesson, and now I'm called Consciousness. And I don't know if you guys ever listen to Pat Martino, but Pat Martino is a bad man.
Oh yeah,
and I actually saw him live back in the day.
Really?
Yeah. He still plays.
Yeah.
And man. And so Pat spun my head around big time, and George Benson did too, but more Pat. Pat was more like something that, I don't know, that I kind of gravitated to. So really, man, to this day, a lot of times I just want to be Pat Martino.
Wow.
Wow, that is so crazy.
So I have a big jazz background,
Very cool.
And I still do that. You wouldn't really know, but I still do it. There's a couple albums that I made that I meant to send you guys, but I didn't get a chance to. But I'll send them to you. But whatever. They're called, one of them's called Show Gone Crazy, and one of them's called Hi-O Silver. And they're and they both have those are albums I made after the Young Rumblers, but they're pretty much they're pretty cool. And they have a wide range of stuff, and it's all telly through a Fender Pro and maybe a Super too. But it's a lot of really raw kind of blues and rock and roll, but there's some jazz on there too that if you ever get a chance to listen to it, you'll see what I'm talking about with jazz. I can fool you. I'm not a hardcore jazz guy, but I could definitely fool you for a minute or two.
That's cool, man. I saw Tommy for the first time at the 8x10 in Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
And you had a twin, and I was like, holy hell. He had that Telecaster going through that twin, and I don't know what it was turned on, but it was all the way up. And
you know what?
That thing just smoked, man. I was like, God almighty.
If I had it, and I'm not arguing with you because I might have had a twin, like I might have borrowed it or something like that.
Next time I saw you, did not have the twin.
Most of the time I had it, I played a Super. Like I had a Super. Like I bought a Super, and I played a Super forever.
Gotcha.
But it's possible that I had a twin, that night. Maybe it was. But I'm loud. I always play. I'm always too loud, man. You know what I mean?
Well, there's no such thing.
You know what I mean? Though, like the sound men never liked me. They always. I'm always louder than recommended. But
I love that phrase. Louder than recommended. I'm gonna have to steal that one.
Because guess what? Guess who's the boss? Me.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, anyway, but so that's where it came, and then. So I came like from a jazz thing, and then at the same time, like 1977, and I'm like, 15, 16, punk rock comes along, and it's the Ramones and the Sex Pistols and everybody else, but really they were the two, the Ramones and the Sex Pistols, and I understood that, like I got it, I connected with it a lot. And so I'm like, okay, I got jazz over here, I got punk rock over here,
Sure.
What am I gonna do, And then when I went to University of Delaware, and I met a dude named VD, and who I ended up playing in the Zippers with for a couple of years. But VD turned me on to the Fabulous Thunderbirds. And he had 2 albums. He had their first 2 albums, which was all that was out at the time. And this is in 1980. He had the first one's called what's it called? What's the word? No, the second one's What's the Word? Girls Go Wild.
Okay.
I don't even know if it's called Girls Go Wild, but it says Girls Go Wild on the cover. So we always called it Girls Go Wild. So
we'll
the first Fabulous,
We'll go with that.
Yeah, the first Fabulous Thunderbirds album is called Girls Go Wild, and it's Jimmy Vaughn and Kim Wilson and Keith Ferguson on bass and a guy named Mike Buck on drums. And it's just unbelievable. I mean, it's mind blowing, like blues and what I mean. It was just amazing to me. It's like here's an album where it's all 12-bar blues. Every song's 12-bar blues, and no two of them are remotely similar.
Yeah.
Like they all have different feels and different times and different turnarounds and different attitudes and and it's just like wow, It's
you
like,
think it's blues? How different could it be? But it totally was. Yeah.
It's all 12 bars. You know what I mean? It's all and Jimmy Vaughn, man, just spun my head around. He was from another planet back in the day. And then What's the Word is another one. They just continued. And all their albums aren't as great as those first 2. Those first 2 are really great. And still to this day, when a kid says to me, hey, man, I want to learn to play the blues. Like, I don't, I could tell them, go get B.B. King or Freddie King or Albert King or something like that. But I just tell them, look, go get the first 2 Fabulous Thunderbirds records, because they're so accessible. They're so easy to learn from. And they're so deceptively simple. To do it right is
they sound simple, but nobody plays like Jimmy. I don't know anybody that plays like Jimmy.
Well, a lot of people tried.
Exactly, you can try.
Yeah, and anymore nobody plays like him because I don't think anyone wants to. His new style's not as cool,
Yep.
And it's cool. He's still cool. I still love him. He's great, and sometimes on the new stuff, whatever, man. I met him once, and it was right around the time of whatchamacallit, Powerful Stuff, right? Okay. Which was one of their most commercial albums. Or the last album they made on Columbia. I think the single, they had a single, Powerful Stuff, and it was real like slick and like kind of like bluesy, but really poppy. It was just radio. It was an attempt at radio rock, and everybody knew it. And I met Jimmy Vaughn at this thing in Florida because we were on Columbia at the time too. And I said, "Oh man, I'm your number one fan. I know all your solos note for note. Everything. You're my top guy, man." And I said, "And the new album's great." And he said, you don't like the new album.
If you've been following me forever, you don't like the new album.
Yeah, exactly. You don't like the new album. And I said,
funny.
And then he said, well, you know what, man? Can't keep doing the same thing all the time forever. No, that's what he said. You can't keep doing the same thing forever. So I forgive him.
Yeah.
Well, everybody probably tried to make a few dollars from music too, and it's like, well, if we do it this way, we can make a few dollars more, and it will increase the awareness because it will be something that is a little more radio friendly, and
it's always a shot in the dark.
Yeah, but I mean, there are logical reasons.
Yes,
I don't want to call it selling out. It's just changing things a little bit so that more people can hear you, and then they go back. And they, they find what you did before,
Yeah.
So it always helps to expand your base like that, I think.
Yeah, that's a good spin on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but that is. I mean, that you're absolutely right. And God, there's nothing wrong with someone trying to make a living. You know what I mean?
Totally.
And trying to maximize their earning. You know what I mean? But musically, it's not always as interesting. So sometimes, but a lot of times it's not. But anyway. But anyway, I heard the Fabulous Thunderbirds, and I saw that as like a beautiful marriage of like punk rock and jazz, because here it is, or rock and roll and jazz. Let's say that, maybe not punk rock, but still, but here's the thing. At that time, punk rock was absorbing all the genres of music. Punk rock absorbed rockabilly in the Stray Cats. Punk rock absorbed like reggae in the Specials and all those ska bands.
Yeah,
punk rock absorbed like soul music with James White and the Blacks. I mean, punk rock was like, you could have a punk / anything. And so I thought, well, I'll have a punk / blues band.
Get out of town.
Which I don't know if I succeeded, but that was the goal,
Huh.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I really never, I really never thought about it, like just back things up a little bit when it came to ska and things like that. It's like, yeah, that's exactly what the hell that was.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's just fast reggae, man.
Yeah. Yeah, a little punk attitude thrown in there.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Well, let's put it this way: the punk rockers liked the Specials. You know what I mean? And the English Beat, and to a lesser degree, maybe Madness and whoever else it was. But the Specials and the English Beat were the real ones. But anyway, but I saw like the T-Birds or blues as like this thing where like there was virtuosity involved. I mean, Jimmy Vaughan was a virtuoso, and there was improvisation. There was like, there was real playing. There was like playing at the level of the jazz guys, but in a just kind of simpler form. But still, I mean, Jimmy Vaughan was just so mind-blowing, man. It was like, wow. And with a backbeat, and you can dance to it, Yeah. And actually, you could play it in bars, Yeah. And the people eat it up, and that's exactly what. And so blues just worked out for me, man. And because it was like, wow, you can play. You can actually play. There's actually actual mastery involved. Like
musicianship.
Musicianship. Thank you. Yes, I mean the guys playing. I mean, it's like these guys are the real deal. These guys aren't like Sid Vicious. You know what I mean? And Johnny Ramone, God bless him. But I mean, it's a high level of musicianship. But at the same time, you're like, the girls, you can play it in a bar and people will dance. So that's kind of like, that kind of worked for me.
Yeah, but, and it's such a cool thing because it worked for you in your own way. You just weren't a traditional blues guy.
No.
You took that and did your own thing with it.
Yeah.
Well, you're right. And that's for a couple reasons. I mean, first of all, I don't know if I probably could, I don't know. I'm not disciplined enough. Like I would see guys like white guys who would play blues like perfect, man. Like wow, how do you possibly do that? So authentic,
Yeah.
And I think, and I went down that road, trust me. You know, I just wanted to be Jimmy Vaughn, man. So I went down, and like Jimmy Vaughn is the perfect example of that. Here's a white guy who's like, plays blues like that is legit.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know,
like
I
Albert
went down
King
that
blues.
road. I went down that road. I don't know how far you would consider me going down, but I went down that road. But then I realized, I remember I saw Stevie Geiger in the Excellos, he's from Philly, he's great, you know, top shelf, world class harmonica guy, Steve Geiger.
Mm-hmm.
And he was playing with his band, the Excellos, at Dobbs in Philly. And like these guys were like the greatest, you know, like it was the greatest blues set. It was perfect, man. You know, it was perfect. This guy, Brian Bezazi, was playing guitar. Perfect. And I just, and there was like, you know, 35 people there. And I just thought, you know what?
Jesus.
Yeah, I just thought, I'm not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give up on authenticity, and I'm going to like, you know, stop going down that road, and I'm going to like do my own thing, you know, and I'm going to write songs, and I'm going to just, you know, try to do something original.
And rev it up a bit, you know.
Yeah, and do whatever the hell I want to do.
Yeah.
Well, you did a good job of that.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
We had. I'll tell you what was big for me too was also Jimmy Vaughn's brother, Stevie Ray Vaughan. I mean, he came out when I was in like, I guess my second year of college was like 82. I think is when his album came out, maybe 81. But I remember the day it came out, changed my life. You know,
it did for a lot of people, man. I mean, it made hit rock and roll stations.
Was that Texas Flood?
Yeah.
Texas Flood, the first track. I still remember the first track, Love Struck Baby. Well, I'm a love struck baby, I must confess. You know, it's just like
Pride and Joy never got more airplay than you could imagine. I mean,
I know
that thing was it would be on YSP from where you're from.
Sure, MMR also.
And it would have been on and it would have been on 98 here.
Mm-hmm.
And then
it was huge.
It was huge.
It was huge. And like Baltimore was huge for blues, man.
Yeah.
Baltimore loved blues back at that time. Ocean City, Maryland. Yeah. I mean, that's really, I cut my teeth, in Ocean City, Maryland, man.
Yeah.
Summer of 83, man, I was playing with this band called Rocket 88, and we were doing that was like right after, it was the summer of 83, so maybe that came out in 83, but, yeah, Rocket 88. I played with them for like 2 years, and that's where I learned. I mean, I learned a ton. I learned how to do it there with Mark Keneally and those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But so Stevie Ray was huge, and so I just did it, and George Thorogood was big too. You know, like he was like, and I went to University of Delaware, and he was from Newark, Delaware there, so he'd like pop in the bars once in a while and just tear the place up, you know, burn the house down, you know. And I saw that, and I actually saw him when I was in high school too, and just like blew my mind. Yeah, performance-wise, like he was an incredible performer. And I'll tell you, a lot of the attention I got was because I'm like a crazy hot dog performer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you are.
Jumping on things, and you know, just being a knucklehead, and you know, just with that enthusiasm, people remember.
Oh, absolutely, for sure.
Yeah, the energy
it brings them in the door, and then they remember.
The energy that you carry is it's crazy how well it's orchestrated, but you can tell that it's completely off the cuff. I mean, you know, he just goes and I was like, how does somebody harness all this? But he's still playing, and I mean, just literally destroying this Telecaster, and it's just at mind-blowing volumes, and you're going, this has literally, and what I equate this to is your sound live almost has this kind of, and I'm talking like back in the day, kind of the mid-range is like Ted Nugent.
Okay.
You know, you kind of get that smooth clip on the top. You know, it just, there's not a lot of bite, but it's just kind of smooth. But that mid range is just honking like a horn. And
you know what? When you saw me at the 8x10,
Yeah.
That might have been my Pro I was playing through. Isn't a Pro like the same size?
I was going to say to you, Mick, are you sure it wasn't a Pro? Because that's a 212. It's almost identical size to a twin, and it's only 40 watts. It's like a Super with 212s instead of 410s.
Oh, okay.
I bet that's what it was.
Yeah,
and it's like a twin, but without. No, it's 410s, right?
A Super is 410s.
410s. Oh, okay.
The Pro is 212s. It looks almost identical to a twin.
Oh, okay.
But it's only 40 watts.
And not mind blowing.
Right.
100 watt. Knock your face off.
But listen. Here's the thing. You turn it on 10.
Right.
And then you got the magic.
Yeah. And then and really, and I'm talking about 10. And let me tell you something else, guys. One time I saw Albert Collins at the Chestnut Cabaret in Philly, right? And I'm standing right in front of his amp, and he had a quad, which is 412s, Fender quad, right?
Sure.
And I swear to God, now I don't know if this is legit or if like he just took the tops off his knobs and put them in funny ways, but every knob, I swear to God, every knob was on 10. Okay, 10 bass 10, middle 10, treble 10, reverb 10, everything 10, right? So I don't know if he actually like played everything on 10, or I'm thinking maybe he like took the knobs off, set the things where he wants them, and then put the knobs back on at 10, and so that way you could save your settings that way. You know what I mean?
Right. Just put everything on.
But
10.
I don't know if he did that, but I didn't think of that at the time, being kind of simple. And so when I got my Pro,
you turned everything on 10.
I just turned everything on 10, and you guys, it sounded insane, man.
Oh, yeah.
It sounded like Hound Dog Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if you know who Hound Dog Taylor
Yes.
is, but like he's like a blues guy. He's just like ridiculously raw and hysterically, over the top raw and just lovable, man. And that's what it sounded like. And so that Pro, man, I usually played that thing on 10, 10, 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Fenders have such a different clip than like say a Marshall, because there's no master volume,
and a lot of them aren't that good. They're you can line up a bunch of them, and some of them will really sound good when they're dimed, and other ones it's like, I don't want to play this amp tonight. It's like that.
It's temperamental.
Yeah. They're like people. Yeah.
Totally. But you can crank everything on 10 on a twin or a quad if you got a 150-foot cable attached to it.
Yeah, right. Which I probably did. I probably had not 150, but I probably had 50 or 75.
Well, that's what Albert used to do.
Really?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, because he used to just go out of the venue, like outside.
Yeah, sure. I used to do that too. Guess what, guys? That is the oldest trick in the book. You know what I mean? Like, why not?
Why not?
You know what I mean?
Well, you're trying to get people to come in the
zero
bar.
Talent. You guys could walk out of the building with a long cord on a guitar. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
It's like it just takes a little bit of like balls to do it. You know what I mean?
Well, and it's also how you carry it. Yeah,
exactly.
You carry it well that way. I mean,
well, thank you. Sometimes I'm sure people would wish I would just like calm down. But you know what? I saw the Albert Collins, and I think it was that same time I saw Albert Collins, and he did a crowd walk. He walked through the crowd on the first song. Now that's cool.
Yeah, man. I saw Buddy Guy literally walk the entire grounds of Merriweather Post to the point where the wireless started to cut out.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a big venue to be walking around. And as soon as he got up the hill a little bit, I guess the line of sight started to get interrupted.
Right at the lawn.
Yeah.
Where the lawn starts.
And you hear, and it was like, man, those guys just, all that stuff. Who was a Guitar Shorty? He's another one, man, that's just amazing show.
Yeah,
those old guys, they just have it, man.
Yeah, and the blues, that's the blues tradition. The blues tradition is, have that. Those are blues standards, I mean, there are a lot of traditions in blues music, like put your name on your guitar, have a long chord,
play behind your head.
The crowd, play behind your head, play behind your back.
Now, the question is, though, Tom, and I got to ask is, what about the getting on a table and pulling your pants down?
That I made up.
That's a new blues tradition.
That's right. That's right, guys.
That's a Rumbler tradition.
That's original. That one I made up myself. I said, I'm dropping my drawers, guys.
That's hilarious.
And it's fun, and I do it all the time.
Yeah, he does.
And it means nothing. And really, and I never, ever, ever, like, think about what underwear I'm wearing before I go to the show, which is really stupid. You know what I mean? Like, they're always clean, but, I mean, some are better than others, right? And, like, you might want to, like, go get a new pair. You know?
Exactly.
Or at least something with a button on the fly, maybe.
There you go. I'd have to color coordinate it with something, you know.
Yeah, something. Give it a little thought, maybe. You know, I never do. And a guy said to me, one time I just can't believe you still wear boxers. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
What's wrong with what should I be wearing?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't
At least you're not going
know.
commando.
At least he's
Yeah.
At least
Well, one time, somebody pulled down my pants.
Whoa.
When I was doing it, and not in the front, but just the back. Like, so I mooned the crowd. It went over like a fart in church, guys. It really, it did not fire the crowd up at all.
Oh my God!
Oh, that's
It made
so
them
funny.
really uncomfortable.
That's that's the other thing, and to take this into a different perspective, but AC/DC, Angus Young is known for doing this striptease, right? Like in the middle of the show.
Mm-hmm.
And
Does he moon
up,
the crowd?
And he goes up on the drum riser and he does a boom and he moons the crowd, right? He just pulls them down and back up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I should have known that.
AC/DC's crowd is like 95% dudes.
I know, right?
And I'm going, who the hell wants to see this guy strip?
Something's going on, right?
You know what I mean? It's a little weird.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, though. Here's the big difference between my mooning and Angus's mooning. Is that his? First of all, he's Angus, all right, and I'm not, all right. And second of all, he is on a big stage in a big arena. Yeah. I was on a bar in a little, in a little like corner bar kind of place, you know, like right there, like you could see every hair.
It's a bit overly revealing.
TMI for sure.
Right,
so,
exactly.
TMI.
It's like, you know, a small comedy club and there's like 40 people and you tell the bad joke.
Exactly.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And just, I got to pull out of this real quick.
It's whisper.
Yeah. So, but anyway, like if you ask, like, where does my thing come from? It really comes from like, you know, those things really, jazz, but actually more punk rock, blues. But then I started writing songs, right? And it's like, okay, and I never cared at all about rock radio, like Boston, Tom Petty, you know, whoever. I couldn't care less. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I really
just wasn't.
I don't know.
Wasn't your genre? Wasn't your
no?
warehouse,
Only only the great, like the Beatles. Like I got that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, you know, like the top, I'm always kind of into like the very top. You know, and so like the Beatles and the Stones and the Who and you know, like I got that. But and I guess like when you start playing jazz, you know, like you know what's the worst thing about jazz? Jazz people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like snobby, like you know, like look down their nose. Like and I'm old enough. You know, this was back in like the late '70s, early '80s. That like jazz people like still look down on rock and roll.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, they were like the
most of those
Beatniks,
people
right?
are gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway, so I was kind of like influenced by that a little bit, and I think like I was like, I don't care about Tom Petty, man. I'm into Frank Zappa, you know. But then when I said to myself and everybody else, I want to be on the radio, well, you better start writing some songs. And then I realized, wow, it's hard to write songs, man. And wow, Tom Petty's actually a good songwriter. You know what I mean? He writes a lot of cool songs, you know, and whoever else, you know, Eddie Money and Steve Miller and, you know, these guys who write radio rock, that's cool, you know? And so that was like the next step in the evolution, is to like make an attempt to start writing songs, you know. And then we got enough songs and made a couple records, and I got a good manager, and got lucky and made a couple records, and you know, did some TV shows and some touring around the world and stuff like that. And here we are now, talking to you guys.
Now, and thank you for that. Thank you. When you left Rocket 88 and started the Rumblers, I mean, was the Rumblers right after 88? Were the Rumblers?
Almost.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I actually started. I had another little version called the Boogie Boys, who just occurred. You guys, man, it's so, like, when I think about this, it's amazing. Like, so I quit Rocket 88 to play with this original band that was, you know, didn't turn into anything, but I just knew I knew I had gone as far as I was going to go with Rocket 88. Like, you know, it was a great bar band, you know, great blues band, great, but I wanted to start doing original music. So, but then one night, I remember University of Delaware, probably early in the year, my roommate, one of my roommates in the house was actually like a good drummer named Brad Fish, and he actually liked blues, you know, and he said, hey, let's play at this party tonight, man, and we'll get our other roommate to play bass. Say, okay. So we go, set up our stuff, play every 3-chord song we could think of. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sure.
And I knew a lot of them, you know, Walking the Dog and you know, Tip on In and whatever, The Twist, you know, whatever had 3 chords that we could pull off. Let's just go play everything we can think of. That was one of the most rocking nights of my life. And that was the first time I ever sang and like was the front man, you know? Wow. Not sang a song, but the first time I ever was like the singer in the band, like the only singer in the band. Mm-hmm. And it was an incredible rock and roll experience, and that was really, you know, the birth of like something, I think. And then I called it the Young Rumblers, and we quickly, you know, caught the attention of a big manager in Philly named Steve Mountain, who was managing the Hooters, and we kind of became like the Hooters' little brothers, opening for them all the time, and the same manager, and kind of followed in their wake. You know, we went to the same record company, Columbia. We had the same producer, Rick Chertoff, and it was, you know, it was cool.
So the Rumblers started out with the lineup that it always had. Those other guys.
Not really. Okay. I mean, pretty much. I should just say, yeah. I mean, very early on, I got Paul. Well, it started out as a 3-piece, and people still say, "Oh man, I like the 3-piece better." You know, and we jokingly, it's, you know, the Rumblers. I don't know. I guess it's been like 30 years that we've been, like, the 5 of us been together, but we still call the other guy, the 2 guys, the new guys.
It's like Neil Peart and Rush.
I love to call them. Yeah, did they do that too?
Yeah, they go, well, I guess we'll let the new guy.
Yeah, we still call him that. But yeah, so, but yeah, pretty much. But so I've had these same, but the guys I have now, like when we play, I do a lot of stuff, and I had a band called the Little Kings. Those records I made called Show Gone Crazy and Highway Silver, they were Tommy Conwell and the Little Kings, which is an entirely different band. But if it's called Tommy Conwell and the Young Rumblers, which is not very often, it's the 5 of us, and which is really nice. That's really cool.
All these years later.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you know, we're grateful to be able to do it.
That's nice.
Yeah,
it's really nice.
Cool. Do you still play the same rig, more or less, that you've been playing? Like,
no. So, you know, back in the day, I played a Guild X500, which I bought because, remember, I'm into jazz, you know, and so and I played that for, you know, for years, you know, really for the 2 Columbia albums. That's I played that for the bulk of them, but I started, and then I saw Danny Gatton. At some point, I saw Danny Gatton, and I think it might have been the next day, or maybe 2 days after. I bought a telly, but the Tallway that I still use now. So no, back in the day on those records, I was using mostly a Guild X500, which is a hollow body guitar, and a Super. Super was my go-to thing for a long time. Then I fooled around with then stuff started to break down. My manager said, "Well, go get something new." He didn't know what the hell he was talking about, but I listened because I was dumb. And I got so we got like Mesa Boogies, which were okay, but really nothing. I don't really look back fondly on my Mesa Boogie days. And then probably went back to, then I got my Pro, and then I'd use a Pro and a Super like in together recording sometimes, and one or the other depending on the gig that I was doing, size wise. The Super was a little bit louder than the Pro. And so yeah, and I had a Marshall in there. I had a nice Marshall too. And now I use an Alessandro Working Dog.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I use a 212's Working Dog.
Wow. I don't know that any one of those has ever crossed my bench. Like anybody's brought me one to work on or anything. And I mean I know what they are. I don't know that I've ever physically seen one.
Huh.
That's
funny. Well, I guess it's regional, man, because I think they're from like Reading or something, and you kind of see them around Philly. A buddy of mine has a 210 version. I like a dope got the 212 version, which is just heavy.
Right.
The 210s would have been fine.
What's the name of it? Makes you work like a dog?
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to have to leave it at the working like a dog amp because we know you got to run. And this, we'd like to continue forever because they're great stories. But Tommy, thank you so much for being on with us. We really appreciate it, and much continued success at kicking ass on stage, my friend.
Yeah, man.
Guys, thanks so much. I'm a fan of the podcast, and I know it's going to be. Get bigger and bigger if you guys want to keep doing it. So good luck to you, and I'll be listening.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of the evening, man. Go do what you need to do.
All right. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, and there you have the story. A little bit truncated because he had to run, but there you have the story.
And you know what? We'll get him back on.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll get him back on soon. I'll get a hold of him. He had to run right away. He was like, "Oh man, I'm so sorry," but hey, we
yeah, that's
totally cool. Yeah.
He's close enough. Maybe we'll catch him out somewhere.
Yeah, I think he's playing in November up in Philly.
Oh, okay.
I think it's his next time. I think he's doing like once a year, twice a year, something like that. Mm-hmm. So hey, it's the story of a lot of people. He had his heyday. And then the record companies, everything just kind of and that's the way it went. And now he has a job, but he also gets to take those guys back out every
absolutely,
now and then.
Absolutely,
and that's
cool. And percentage wise, ain't a whole lot of people that ever had a heyday.
No.
And there are so many people out there that we'd love to talk to because they were there. In the days where you could go out and you didn't have to be a mega band to make a tour worthwhile. You could go out there and you could actually have songs on the radio.
Yeah.
That weren't designated as hits before they were ever made. They kind of organically grew to be hits.
It was a lot of work.
Yes, but that's how you did it. You put the stuff out there, and it started to get some rotation, and then your live thing would get people calling into the radio stations and say, "Hey, man, you play this song. We just saw these guys, and they're great." And then that's how things would organically grow and get bigger and bigger and bigger. Now it's just stuff is
YouTube.
It's not only YouTube, but it's. It's artificially made big right out of the gate.
Yeah.
And there's so much.
Well, and the other thing is now, like with these bands, they go out 20 strong and they're playing like an Ozfest. So, this band that would have never gotten 20,000 people to show up or playing in front of a 20,000 occupancy at some field.
Which I think that's very cool.
It's cool, but it kind of takes away that hard-working thing and getting to that point because, when you see Tommy, he's developed a show. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like you go, I wonder if the guy's a little off. Because it's like, he is bigger than life, even though he's this guy with a telly plugged into a Supra or a Supro or whatever. What is it? What is the amp that he uses?
Super Reverb.
Super Reverb.
Yeah, Fender Super Reverb.
So when I saw him, I was like, holy crap, this guy is straight in, literally turned on 10, and I'm exhausted.
Well, some of the most fun, and entertaining acts are, you look at the guy who goes, he's got to be, Little Richard was a little off,
but to bring that energy like
absolutely.
that is to me, when you see guys with that kind of energy, I'm like almost jealous because it's like, oh yeah, where are they getting that? That is coming from something.
And the whole funny thing is like, early on, one of his biggest influences is jazz. Yeah. And it's like,
and then Jimmy Vaughn.
Yeah.
Who you never hear that name. You hear Stevie so much.
Right.
So to hear Jimmy, it's kind of refreshing. Yeah. And because he was looking at that alternative thing. He was looking at that.
Well, he was real rootsy.
Yeah.
Real rootsy
and the punk, the whole punk blues thing that he was trying to develop, which I think he did a pretty good job of, man.
Yeah, that's
the guitar solo. I wanted to ask him that. We'll have to ask him next time. The guitar solo at the beginning of "I'm Your Man," I'm not your man. Sorry, I'm not your man. That is an awesome riff that he does.
Yeah,
and the way that song comes in, and when you hear him talk and then you hear him sing, it's two different people. His voice is much more. It's got that blues thing going on.
Yeah,
heavily when he sings.
Yeah, and it's funny. He mentioned Pat Martino as being a big influence. And Pat was I saw Pat back in the day when he was a phenomenal player, and he is a phenomenal player.
Yeah.
Now, but in between, he lost the ability to play. He actually had.
I heard about this.
Yeah, and I forgot exactly what happened. Stroke, I believe. I
think that's what it was.
Yeah, I believe it was a stroke. But he had to completely relearn from scratch how to play guitar again. And he got as good as he ever was.
You know what sucks?
What?
Not that sucks.
that
is an incredible story, and that is a good story. But it's like, I would, if I had a terrible thing like that happen to me and I only got back to where I was, or maybe just a little bit better, I would really be pissed off at myself. Because it's like, he's like amazing, loses all the ability, comes back, he's more amazing.
Yeah.
It's like, huh? I can barely, barely get out of my own way.
Literally had to relearn how to play from scratch.
And I don't take that wrong. That was just me being goofy.
Yeah, but if you couldn't play at all and you got to the point where you could strum a half a dozen chords and make lovely melody again.
Then you'd be doing,
that would be a huge blessing in and of itself.
Exactly, but to actually surpass where you were,
it's like,
there you go. Well, it's like Yngwie. Yngwie suffered a hand injury in a car accident, and I think it was like one of the last times he took alcohol or something. And he wrecked a Ferrari and he hurt his hand. Well, he had to go through some rehab and relearn how to play. Yeah, of course he's faster, better.
Yeah, well, of course.
He was. No? Really? Jesus. Seriously? How the hell's that happen?
I will never get faster because I will never get fast. It's the way it rolls for me.
Well, you know what? We're going to have him back on because we got to hear more about the Telecaster.
Yeah.
We got to hear about those those years where it was really going. And then where it's come to now. So we're going to have a part 2 of this.
Yeah, we'll see. What we can do
he'll definitely come back on. He's a great guy.
And if it has to wait till we, catch him live somewhere,
that's what we got to do.
That's cool too. And then we'll get to see him,
Yeah.
Maybe we'll show a little video or something. Something like that.
It might be him pulling his pants down.
There.
So until next time, my friend.
Well, there's got to be.
It's got to be because we had part 2.
That's right, part 2.
Right. I'm Mick Marcelino,
and I'm the other guy that interviews guys with you, and that'd be Jeff Bober.
And we're always saying
onward.
Be sure and follow the show on Twitter @Amps and Axes. Also, make sure you like the show on Facebook. For news, comments, and everything else, visit the webpage ampsandaxescast.com. Thanks for listening.